Fill to Capacity, where heart, grit, and irreverent humor collide. A podcast for people too stubborn to quit and too creative not to make a difference. Hi, I'm Pat Benincasa, and welcome back to Fill to Capacity. Today, episode number 81, Bold Strokes, The Art and Heart of Taylor Rae Hillestad. My guest is an artist and graphic designer who infuses every canvas with the vibrant energy of neon light and rhinestones. Hailing from the Twin Cities, Minnesota, and inspired by her grandpa, Ray, Taylor has transformed her passion for the arts into a dynamic career that blends bold colors with bold ideas. Now, I met Taylor when I was artist in residence teaching at Hill Murray School. She walked into my class, started working. Her work immediately stood out. She has a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Graphic Design from the Kansas City Art Institute. Now, fast forward. Her paintings, a mesmerizing fusion of exaggerated hues and mixed media, has captured the attention of celebrities and athletes alike, including Boy George, Daryl Hall of Hall & Oates, Anthony Edwards of the NBA Timberwolves. That's just to name a few. Taylor's artistry has also been featured on NBC KARE 11 and ABC 5 Eyewitness News. Now, whether it's painting Minnesota sports icons or creating dazzling portraits of international music legends, Taylor's art isn't just seen, it's felt. Join us as we explore the creative world of an extraordinary artist whose impact spans from New York to the Twin Cities and beyond. Well, welcome, Taylor. It's so nice to have you here.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. And that was so nice of you for such a great intro. Thank you.
Well, Taylor, the intro's based on the facts of your life.
Oh, thank you. That was so sweet of you.
Okay, let's start. So, Taylor, your grandfather, Ray, was such a pivotal figure in your artistic journey. I'm curious, what were some of the most profound lessons or values he instilled in you that you continue to use this day?
Yeah. So my grandpa Ray was a huge inspiration for me. He was a pen and ink artist, and he would draw historical buildings in St. Paul and landscapes. He had so much patience with him, but honestly, I was really inspired that he did it. And whenever I would go visit my grandparents' house, we would just draw all the time on stacks of printing paper. We didn't really have like sketchbooks. We would just kind of waste so much paper on like printing paper. We would watch Bob Ross videos together. I could never get to Bob Ross's level because I was working with watercolor and I realized he was oil. So my paintings were terrible then. But it was just being surrounded by so much love and support from my family that really inspired me the most. My parents were really inspiring as well. They both were in finance, but they really pushed me to become an artist, not to follow them exactly, just do what I want to do in life and just follow my dream.
Well, I can testify that your folks are amazing, having gotten to know them. And what an unusual gift that you had growing up, being with an artist grandfather. I mean, that's awesome, Taylor.
Yeah, he would be really proud of me today. He passed away 7 years ago, but he did see kind of where I was going with some of my portraits of musicians and stuff like that. So,
wonderful.
yeah.
So, Taylor, you've had the incredible chance to create portraits for some of the most iconic athletes and celebrities and even meet them in person. I'd love to know what's been the most unforgettable moment or piece of feedback that you've received from one of those athletes or celebrities?
Oh yeah, it kind of started so kind of at the end of college, social media was kind of getting more popular, not in a way where you can just like communicate with your friends and stuff, but actually have a public profile and then connect with musicians. You can post something online. And so one of the first celebrity portraits I did actually was kind of for an album cover contest for John Oates from Hall and Oates. I painted his portrait and posted it on Twitter, kind of when Twitter was getting kind of new. And I didn't expect much. I didn't win the album cover contest, but my painting was in the top 3 or the design, and it ended up getting noticed by John Oates, some of his band members. One of his bandmates wanted me to do an album cover for him then, Elliot Lewis. And it just kind of took off. That's when I realized the power of social media can kind of help me a little bit. You can just post something online and just see where it goes. But ever since then, I just kind of connected with kind of some musicians. And I think what inspired me, or what I'm most thankful for, is not only connecting with the musicians or athletes, but actually their families. Like,
Well, Taylor,
yeah,
I'm going to stop you there because that
yeah,
was my next question.
yeah,
Okay, so I'm struck by the fact that you've painted these people, but you build real connections with some of the
yeah,
families. Tell us
yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I don't know. It just, maybe it goes beyond just, painting the musician, like goes beyond just maybe like labeled as fan art where like, oh, cool portrait they posted and that's it, but like their families have been following me. And I want to build my social media platform more. I don't have a crazy amount of followers like some people, but all my followers are genuine supporters, like they're families of musicians or athletes families, and just some of the athletes families, and then they want portraits themselves, or even some of the athletes agents want portraits of their family. So it kind of just one thing led to another, and yeah, I'm very, very thankful.
Yeah. Now, your art has been featured in various high profile settings, including Daryl Hall's music club in New York. How
Mhm.
does it feel to know that your work is being appreciated by the very people you admire?
I'm just still in awe. Like I could be listening to the radio and hear Hall and Oates, and I just want to start by saying I'm like the biggest '80s music lover. Like it's so funny. Like I was born in the '90s, but I love '80s music. That's kind of what inspired me for some of my paintings. But yeah, I don't know. It's cool that it was featured. Daryl Hall has one of my paintings of one of his late bandmates, T-Bone Walk, in his club, and then it's featured on his show and on MTV. You can see it in the background.
Whoa.
And yeah, and when I visited, it's a restaurant and music venue. And I visited the restaurant, and I never met Daryl Hall. I met John Oates, but some of the waiters, we saw it. It's featured above Daryl Hall's table, the painting. And I heard from some of his staff that he wanted it above his shoulder because his friend T-Bone always was over his shoulder. And just it was cool that he hung it specifically there because he wanted his friend always by his shoulder. So yeah, I'm just very thankful, kind of connected. My paintings have been able to be respected by musicians I grew up listening to.
So, Taylor, every artist's journey comes with its own set of challenges. What were some of the biggest obstacles you had to overcome to get where you are today? And how did you find the strength to push through to get to where you are?
Well, yeah, it definitely was a long road. I think painting or being an artist has a lot of different phases to it. In the beginning, I really wanted to be a photorealistic painter. Like I thought the goal was to make something as photorealistic as possible, which can totally be a goal and everything like that. And so that was my goal going through in college. But in college, oh my gosh, those professors were tough. I cried a lot in college. I had a moment where I was painting a dress. It was a self portrait and me wearing a dress. And the college professor ripped the paintbrush out of my hand and started painting over my dress and said it was too photorealistic, make it more interesting. And I didn't get it at first. I'm like, but it looks like the photo. Isn't that the point of this? But they really pushed you to get out of your comfort zone, have a style and stuff. So it took a while to kind of develop a style at first. Let loose. Don't be so stubborn on like, oh, it has to look like the picture. They really helped me experiment with colors more. I spent so much money on oil paint in college. It was kind of ridiculous. Because they want you to have like 5 different reds, 5 different browns. And I'm like, what? Just isn't one enough? But so they pushed me to work with more color. And then I also painted a portrait of my friend. She was photorealistic. And then the background, I was horrible at landscapes. I just kind of was blotchy. And one of my professors said, the background's more interesting than her. And I was like, what? But she's perfect. I don't know. So some of the challenges was just kind of developing a style and just get out of my comfort zone, just be unique, experiment with color, paint strokes and everything.
Yeah. So creating art that resonates with both subject and the viewer is a powerful talent. How do you approach capturing the essence of the athletes and celebrities you paint?
Actually, I kind of pick and choose who I want to paint for the paintings that I do for myself. They have to be very influential. Like I have to be really inspired by them. Mostly for like the musicians. I might not paint the most popular musicians out there, but I paint those who really inspire me. I think the first crazy colorful portrait I've ever done, like really crazy colorful, was Peter Gabriel, because he's just like a crazy musician. And I'm like, he doesn't deserve something that's just like normal. Like
he doesn't.
No. Yeah, he actually was probably inspired me the most at the time. It's like, pick some kind of crazy progressive rockers that really inspired me and deserve kind of crazy, colorful portraits. So it kind of started with that. And then I eventually developed into mixed media art. That didn't start at first, but later on. But it actually started as a disadvantage. I couldn't paint clothes. I can't paint clothes in fabric. And so what I did was I was inspired by Migos, a rap group, Migos. And to the Met Gala, they wore these beautiful Versace suits, and it was just full of all these patterns. And I'm like, oh, no way I'm painting those patterns. But I went to Michael's and found like this cool scrapbook paper, and I started using that for some of my paintings. Like maybe I can use this for some of the clothing, and then I started using it for basketballs. Started using rhinestones, but it kind of started as a disadvantage. Like I didn't really want to paint these objects because I really just didn't have patience. Like I'm more focused on faces, and then it just kind of developed into kind of mixed media and kind of went off of that.
Well, it sounds like your work has really evolved organically so that you don't want to take the time to do all the minutia for painting fabric. So you problem solve creatively. I think it's a great idea. So you get scrapbook pieces. That's brilliant. I mean, what a nice way to keep the flow of your work and infuse it with these new materials. That's awesome.
Yeah, it would start off for one painting, but then it ended up being kind of my style now is have one piece of kind of something. I painted Elton John in his famous Dodger Stadium rhinestone outfit, and no way I wanted to paint the rhinestones, so I got rhinestones. But
Smart.
I figured, maybe it's like a signature style of me. Just for every little painting, add something to it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Professionally, you work as a graphic designer, and you have this incredible painting career. How do these two creative practices influence each other? Like, how do you balance them?
Yeah, yep. I'm a professional graphic designer during the day. I have a 9-to-5 job, and I absolutely love it. But then, at night I paint. I always wanted to continue to paint, and I do find the time at night and on weekends. And some people kind of always ask, like, "Oh, how do you have like the time to do more art after work?" But I'm like, "Oh, painting's a little different. Like, graphic design, you're staring at a computer all day, and your brain kind of hurts eventually. But painting actually helped me therapeutically. It like kind of helps me unwind, and you can just let loose. Like the graphic design has to be so structural sometimes. Like I can't make a mistake in graphic design as much. I deal with package design, so there's no room for errors. And I love it. I absolutely love it. But painting helps me kind of unleash, kind of just be a little bit more creative and unwind.
Yeah. Well, I understand that because when I taught, my day would end in the middle of the afternoon, and then I'd go to my studio for my day to start. That's when my day started. As you say, you go into it. It's not like, oh, I got to paint. It's like, oh boy, now I get to paint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone needs to have time to do what they love, like unleash your creativity.
Yeah. Well, your art so beautifully captures the spirit of Minnesota sports icons. What is it about the local sports culture that truly inspires you? What is it, Taylor?
Yeah, so I started off doing musicians, and then I don't know, I just remember starting to watch football really with my dad about 6, 7 years ago, and he taught me how football is played, and I don't know, I just grasped onto it. I ended up just loving it. My first athlete I've ever painted was Stefan Diggs. He doesn't play here anymore, but at the time, wow, he was getting really popular.
Well, wasn't there that spectacular catch?
Yeah, and I have a story for that. I don't know, I just picked him to paint just because I just saw him on TV. Again, you have to have some sort of spark to inspire me to paint you. Like, I don't know, I might not paint the most obvious, choice, like Tom Brady or, quarterback, but I don't know, I wanted to paint Stephon Diggs because I liked his personality, and he was my dad's favorite player. And so I decided to paint him, but I got so many people that were critiquing at the time, like, why did you choose him at first? This was right before his famous catch, like right before. And I'm like, I don't know. I like him. Like, he's cool. Like, I don't know. I don't want to paint the most popular player right now. I just paint who inspires. And so I ended up painting him. I finished this painting a week before his miracle catch.
A bit of background here about the Stefon Diggs famous catch. In the 2017-18 NFL playoffs, during a divisional matchup between the Minnesota Vikings and the New Orleans Saints in Minneapolis on January 14, 2018, the Saints were ahead 24-23 with just 25 seconds left. On the final play of the game, Vikings quarterback Casey Keenum launched a 27-yard pass to wide receiver Stefon Diggs, who sprinted to the end zone to get a stunning 61-yard touchdown as time expired. This was the first time in NFL playoff history that a game ended with a touchdown as the clock hit 0. The play became known as the Minneapolis Miracle. Okay, let's get back to the podcast.
And then it exploded. Everyone thought I predicted the miracle. Because they're like, oh, I remember you painted him just a week ago. And then he caught this famous last second catch to make them go to, I think, the AFC championship, or it was just all over the news. And then the news actually wanted to do a story on me. They thought I predicted it. So I don't know, I think that was my first athlete painting, and it kind of inspired me, just the whole Minnesota sports culture on just, I don't know how much we just celebrate moments like that,
Yeah.
Yes, we never win champions, but we have enthusiastic fans every year. They're so enthused. And yeah, it kind of just took off from there to just maybe do a couple more.
So one thing led to another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then I started getting involved with some of the charities for the Vikings. I wanted to donate a print of that painting to a Vikings charity, and Stephon signed it. And I actually got to meet him, and he was such a sweet guy. He thought oh my God, you predicted it, and he wanted me to paint him with the
Vince Lombardi trophy.
Or he wanted me to paint that next so he wins a Super Bowl. And then that's Stefon Diggs' mom started following me on Instagram, and she just says the sweetest things to me, and that's when I started kind of connecting with some of the family members too. And yeah, a lot of my first athlete portraits were for charities. I work actually where my work is for graphic design. I'm only a mile away from the Vikings headquarters. So
Oh,
I would
nice.
kind of
Yeah.
have fun just like delivering paintings or prints to them for any of their local charity galas. And then there is when I started meeting some of the players and then got some commissions from them and then then now I'm kind of within the athlete community now. So but started with Stefan Diggs and that kind of catch.
Well, I noticed on your website that you are very active in causes
Mm-hmm.
and you have them on your site. And as you said, you contribute your art to them.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a special moment or experience from your charitable work that really touched your heart?
Yeah, just I don't know. I always just wanted to give back. I have a job and stuff. I mean, I wanted just to give back and just inspire people. I also did a Chris Squire was a musician from the band Yes, and he sadly passed away from leukemia a while back and he was such an influential musician as well that I really wanted to kind of give back and donate to the Mayo Clinic leukemia section because his wife, or I connected with some of his family members in
Yeah.
the Ball of Flowers that they wanted people to donate to the leukemia. And then that was the first charitable thing I did. I'm like, you know what, I have this painting, let's donate some of the proceeds to that. And I don't know, I just really wanted to inspire people and these musicians and inspired me. So I want to give back.
Yeah. Well, there's a question I'm dying to ask, and anybody listening to this would probably want to ask. Meeting your music idols and seeing your work displayed in such prominent places must feel absolutely surreal. How do you keep yourself grounded and stay focused on your next creative project with all this success? How do you do it? How do you stay grounded?
Oh no, I'm always grounded. Or there's always goals ahead in the future. You know, always goals, and you know, not every painting makes it. You know, sometimes I kind of have bumps in the roads. Like yes, sometimes they can reach the musician and athletes, but a number of them don't. And you know, sometimes I get critiqued online from people like that doesn't look like him. So not everything's perfect all the
Yeah.
time. So I'm always pretty grounded. I'm just thankful for the opportunity and in the end, even if it doesn't reach them, I'm just happy I painted it for myself. You know, it's good practice maybe for a gallery someday. So you know, like even if it doesn't work out, you're doing it for yourself, you know.
Yes. Spoken like a true artist. Yeah. So in your working process, do you work at one painting at a time or do you have a couple easels set up? Do you go between them? How do you work?
Basically one at a time, but sometimes there's multiple involved. When it comes to commissions, I totally try to finish them as on a timely manner. But when it comes to paintings for myself, I have some abandoned ones. Like
Oh,
sometimes
yeah.
in my I have a closet just dedicated to paintings, and there's a lot of abandoned ones. I'm like, oh, why did I start this and stuff?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, there. Some of them are really bad. Doing paintings for myself, I might work on a couple at a time, but when it comes to commissions, I'm just straightly focused on finishing
Yeah.
one at a time.
Now, do you live in a studio or do you have an apartment or a place where you live and your studio's there?
Yes, I work in my apartment. I live downtown St. Paul in a loft apartment, and yeah, I have a great lighting. I have 15-foot windows that have a beautiful view of downtown, and I get a lot of natural light there. And yeah, I have my own little space, little nook of my easel and paintings. And then I
Yeah.
actually got this apartment too because of all the closet space. I can put a lot of my paintings in closets.
Yeah. Now, I noticed that you're sporting ink tat on your left arm. What does
Yeah,
it say?
I just got this in Vegas like a couple months ago. Rule the world. It kind of has a little history to it. So it is based off the Tears for Fears song. Everybody wants to rule the world. Again, huge 80s lover. My mom always told me she listened to the song on the radio the morning of her wedding. It played on the radio. And then I actually found out that the the song peaked at #1 in the US on the exact day of her anniversary. So it was probably just like played for the first time in the US or at then. So it always hold a meaning to my mom. And then I just always loved that song. And then, I had some struggles in art college. I remember thinking like, oh, am I going to make it as an artist or graphic designer? But before a presentation, I would listen to that song on my headphones, and it's such an upbeat song, like, don't worry, welcome to your life. So yeah, that song kind of got me through art. And then kind of fast forward, kind of a full circle moment, I ended up painting Tears for Fears just for fun. I saw them in concert a couple times, and I just always wanted to paint them. And the painting kind of went viral, and they don't really have their own social media accounts, but the wife of Roland shared it on her page, and then some of his family members, Roland's family members, follow me online. Again, was so thankful. I'm like, oh my gosh, like my favorite musician, like his family follows me. And so yeah, that was just, I don't know. Then I just wanted to just say rule the world, like just kind of with my art, just kind of full circle moment.
It's perfect, Taylor.
I know, it was my first tattoo. I don't know. It took me a while to figure out. I was originally going to do a cactus when I went to Vegas, but I got talked out of it and said like, no, something more meaningful.
Usually people who sport ink, I know I have a couple.
Yeah.
They're always something personal.
Yeah, it has to
story
be.
That you want to carry with you and remind you.
No, it definitely has to be, or else you might regret it later on. So it has to, it has to. But yeah, I never thought I would get a tattoo ever in my life. But no, I kind of liked it. It really didn't hurt at all.
You're very brave. You must not mind the needles.
No, just a cat scratch. It's just like a little cat scratch.
Well, that's different. Okay, so Taylor, as you look to the future, what artistic goals or projects are you most excited about?
Well, I want to have a gallery someday, but I never have enough paintings to save up for a gallery. I just always try to would sell my paintings or want to keep them to myself. But the end goal, I would really just love a gallery someday, just save up, just continue with this style of multimedia. And I don't know, maybe someday, way in the future. I know I love my graphic design so much, but someday I hope to maybe be a full-time painter. I just sometimes I have so many ideas and stuff, and just not enough time. So
yes, there's never enough time.
There's never enough. Even if it comes to me being, older in life, I hope to, maybe be a full-time painter.
So when you say you want a gallery, do you want to own a gallery or exhibit at a gallery?
Just an exhibit. My painting's been shown in restaurants and bars, but I always wanted to have enough paintings just in an exhibit. Have an exhibit at least.
Well, I'm sure that's in your future. It just seems like the work you do. It would make a remarkable show if collectors would lend their paintings to a gallery exhibition so everyone could see the full span of what you do. It'd be great.
I'm so happy that, these athletes or musicians have paintings of mine, but then I miss them a lot because some of my athletes, my painting of Anthony Edwards and Justin Jefferson kind of went together. They were both these bright giant paintings, and then one part of the painting was of rhinestones. So for Anthony Edwards, it was his basketball. For Justin Jefferson, it's his gloves that he wears, football gloves. And then I have another painting of Jewel Erickson Eck from The Wild. He hasn't seen his painting yet. He's a little harder to reach, but the ice is on his portrait is rhinestone. So those all were a trio, a collection that I did with all three of them. And I'm so happy that two of them have them, but I kind of miss them because they really went well together as a triptych. I called it almost like a triptych. They were perfectly aligned. So I do miss some, but I realized I guess I could always just paint more, I guess, if I ever wanted a collection like that again.
Yeah. Listeners, you can see those three paintings on the graphic for the podcast, the paintings that Taylor just talked about. Well, Taylor, looking back at your incredible journey from the early days inspired by your grandfather to having your art celebrated by celebrities, icons, and seen around the world, what advice would you give to someone who dreams of being an artist, but they're just not sure they have what it takes?
It's all about passion. You got to have the passion. Don't worry about the skill yet. You can always develop the skill, but you got to have the passion. And there was moments, and I just want to say, Pat, that you were such a huge inspiration for me. You were the one that taught me how to paint. My grandpa taught me how to draw. You taught me how to paint, to be honest. So you were just a huge inspiration. And going into Hill Murray, it was such a competitive high school. A lot of people just wanted to be like doctors, and I had so many classmates that were like all about money. They didn't want to do art. It's all about money. They're gonna, and I don't know. There was a lot of moments where I did want to quit. I was really good at math, and I could have followed my parents' footsteps and became into finance and stuff. But you really, there's moments where you're like, no, Taylor, gotta continue. Don't worry, and you helped me apply to art school, and I owe you the world, Pat. So thank you so much. But just don't give it up, and all these artists out there that just try it. Try it. You can always find a different career if you want later, but when you're driven on art, just give it a try, and just go to art school if you want. Just try it. You can always change your major later, but I don't know. So just don't give up. Don't be influenced by people say about like money and
Yep.
and everything like that. Just because you only live once. You want to do something that you love.
Yeah. Taylor, thank you for that. And I have to say, some artists didn't like teaching. They'd go, oh, I got to go teach. For me, walking into an art classroom and seeing a talent like yours, it's just like all these talented kids. And you really did stand out. It was just, to me, a no-brainer. This kid has art in her DNA. She's going to do something. And so it was my pleasure and honor just to be any part of your journey. I got to tell you. And I'm delighted. I follow you on Facebook and I follow Insta, and I see these new paintings. And I go, wow, that is so Taylor. That is so Taylor.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And
No, yeah, you were a huge inspiration. I still remember like some of the techniques you taught me. I actually just the other day I'm painting Caitlin Clark right now.
oh,
For
really?
fun, just for fun. Like we'll see if she sees it, but it's just for fun. But I remember I was like, you taught me don't paint teeth. You never paint teeth on people, and I remember some stuff you taught me because I was like, oh, maybe I can paint her teeth, but I'm like, no. Pat said no, never paint the teeth. Like you'll never get it right.
Yeah, if you can just kind of mock a suggestion of teeth,
Yeah.
but don't paint the damn teeth.
No, the only teeth I painted though was Mick Jagger because he has a gap tooth. That I think you have to paint people with like a gap tooth, but otherwise.
Okay, there you had to do it, Taylor. You just
like
had
one
to do it.
Yeah, for Mick Jagger. Otherwise, but I don't know. No, you taught me so much technique. But yeah, I think you were the first one that taught me how to use acrylic paint. So I still remember some of your techniques that you showed me, and yeah, your voices in my head. No teeth and other stuff too, of course.
Well, I hope it's the good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Well, Taylor, it's so good to see you again.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for joining us today. It was delightful to hear you talk about your work and the wisdom that you have acquired in your artistic journey. It's just awesome.
Oh,
just
thank
awesome.
you. Oh, it's so great to connect after all these years. Yeah, just come full circle with like what you taught me and everything like that, and then me still doing art and being inspired by what you do. Yeah, no, this has been so great.
Well, thank you. And listeners, if you've enjoyed today's podcast, I don't know how you could not enjoy this. Okay. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please let other people know, spread the good word about Fill to Capacity, and thank you for joining us. Bye.